Thank you very much, and thank you for the organizers for bringing this event together. So today I'll be talking about accelerating sustainability, and I'm here with an agenda. So I actually am here because I want to enlist each and every one of you to become part of the sustainability movement. But before we can do that, we must define what does that mean, accelerating sustainability. So this expression was coined by Dr. John Robertson, who's the Associate Provost at Sustainability at UBC. And it's an expression I like because it implies or it illustrates two of the main challenges around sustainability. So the first one is that that sustainability is something that is very difficult. It's not very tangible. It's something it's a concept that's very appealing, but it's difficult to visualize. And so our challenge is how do we illustrate, how do we make it tangible to people? And accelerating implies that sustainability is something physical, something that we can really get behind and push forward. The second one is that of time, and it's the urgency that we must act towards to create a sustainable future. So I wanted to kind of talk about how I got first introduced to the topic of sustainability and what I have been doing to accelerate it and to accelerating it through my networks. In particular, the Vancouver School Board, that's one of the organizations that I've been working a lot with. So in grade 10, that's when I was first introduced to the topic in TREC, in an outdoor education program. And I was mind-boggled that we weren't being taught any of this in school at all. And for me, it was frustrating because I felt that there was this urgency to act, and yet many of my peers didn't even know this existed. So what I did was I decided to organize a conference called Planet Earth, and that brought together youth from across the city of Vancouver, and basically to learn about sustainability, but also to brainstorm solutions surrounding urban sustainability. So what we did to accelerate sustainability in the morning and to make it visual and to illustrate it was we had workshops where students had the chance to really understand what sustainability could look like in an urban setting. And so in the afternoon we had a portion where the accelerating of sustainability actually happened. And I think what we did was we partnered a group of students with a co-design artist. And so this process is called collaborative design. And what happens is that the artist illustrates the visions of the students, and there's these drawings that are created, and those were then presented to planners from Metro Vancouver and the City of Vancouver. So what was exciting for me was that not only were we able to engage and to educate the students, but we were able to allow them to synthesize information and use these ideas to influence decision makers. So from then on, I planned that second conference. I was involved with several of these groups. In particular, I want to talk about Youth for TAP because that's when it happened in grade 10 when I felt that I'd been working on a lot of these initiatives in event planning, but I couldn't really see what were the tangible differences, what was the measurable impact that had been changed. So I decided to focus on bottled water. And so for that, what we did was we founded a group called Churchill Youth for TAP, and we decided to promote tap water over bottled water through 3 different aspects. So there's behavioral change, infrastructural change, and policy change. And from that, I don't want to go too much into the successes, so I'll just say that what happened is it got to the district level, and what we did is we formed a coalition called Vancouver Youth for TAP, and we lobbied, or we tried to push a 5-year bottled water phase out to the entire district. And what happened next, I think, is perhaps the most exciting part and the most relevant to the Faculty of Environment. So what happened was all these ideas and these projects that I had been working on, they had been simmering, and it finally reached a boiling point at the VSB Sustainability Conference that I organized in January. And so at this conference, our 3 main goals were, 1, to celebrate successes, what was already happening in the school district. The second part was to bring together the different stakeholders, the teachers, the parents, the students, the staff, to collaborate and really work on projects at a district level. And finally, we wanted to put VSB as a leader in terms of sustainability among all school districts. So those were the 3 goals, and what happened, I think, the main successes that we had at the end of the day was that was seeing the students coming out to that conference, but also from these groups of students, we had 1 student from every single high school delegation that signed the Ask Student Agreement. And that was a commitment from the part of the students that they would commit to the project that they had worked on or they had planned at the conference. In addition to that, in terms of Youth for TAP, the district had finally decided that they would match each water refill station that a high school fundraised. So they'd match 1-for-1, like a $4,000 water refill station for every single high school. And finally, we secured $18,000 in funding, so that's up to $1,000 for every single school in the district to work on sustainability projects. So those were the main takeaways, and I think the lessons that I learned and that can be applied here at the faculty environment is what are the steps to create organizational change. The first one, I think, is that you need to really map the baseline, find out what's already happening and celebrate the successes. And in some ways, I feel like that's what's happening right now at the Symposium. We're hearing about students' stories and their successes, their research. The second one is to envision the end goals. What do we want to see? What do we want this organization to look like in 10 years, in 15 years, in 100 years, say? And finally, we need to create the roadmap. So what are the next steps? Who are the stakeholders that need to be involved? And basically just what are the next steps to achieving this vision? So I guess that for me, experiential education was really the time where I learned that I got involved with sustainability. And I don't think that I can claim that I accelerated sustainability within the district. I think I've just made a small dent, and I've kind of picked the low-hanging fruit. And so I think that in itself is an indication of how much work there needs to be done. So I'm here today to say that all of you have these amazing resources, the skills, the energy, the knowledge that I didn't have when I was in grade 10. And so I think you guys have so much potential to create so much change. So I want to just end off with a quote. It's always aim for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. And though that's astronomically incorrect, the stars are way harder than the moon, and we've already landed on the moon, I think, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to ask you, let's reach for the stars together.
We've got a couple of minutes for questions.